Hey guys, I'm Savannah, and alongside my partners Taylor and Hashim, we're going to be talking about human trafficking today. Trafficking in persons is a serious crime and a grave violation of human rights. Every year, thousands of men, women, and children fall into the hands of traffickers in their own countries and abroad. Almost every country in the world is affected by trafficking, whether or not it's a country of origin, transit, or a destination for victims. So what exactly is human trafficking? Well, human trafficking is the trade of humans, most commonly for the purpose of sexual slavery, forced labor, or commercial sexual exploitation for the trafficker or others, or the extraction of organs or tissues. On a federal level, a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not attained 18 years of age. Or the recruitment, harboring, or transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery.
Sex trafficking statistics. Department of Justice. A pimp can make $150,000 to $200,000 each year, and the average pimp has 4 to 6 girls. The United States generates $9.5 billion annually from human trafficking. Approximately 300,000 children are at risk of being prostituted in the United States. 1/3 of teens on the street will be lured toward prostitution within 48 hours of leaving home.
Victims of human trafficking face a series of issues. Some of these personal issues may include low self-esteem, loss of their family or job, constantly being exploited for sex, manipulation by others, loss of control, or greater dependence on others. Human trafficking also brings trouble to the public. Some of these may include fear for wives, daughters, aunts, sisters, and grandmothers, an increase in drug use, culture shock, and the spread of unwanted STDs and pregnancies.
So how has the media handled this issue? They have illuminated the problem, provided a helpline, shamed the perpetrators, and have increased education in the population.
Growing crime of human trafficking violates labor, public health, and human rights standards worldwide. It is conducted by organized, sophisticated criminal enterprises, decentralized criminal networks, family members, small businesses, and individuals. This global epidemic of forced labor generates an estimated U.S. $44.3 billion annually, contributing to the corruption and undermining the rule of law. Human trafficking and modern slavery can occur internationally within countries as well as across borders. Traffickers use tactics such as transporting individuals into areas with language barriers or isolating them from friends and family to remove them from any supportive resources.
Basic necessities such as food, safety, sleep, hygiene, and medical care are often denied to victims of human trafficking. Children may be greatly impacted in their emotional and physical development when they are forced to live in an unhealthy environment away from their families and loved ones. Trafficked individuals may be exposed to serious health risks to the point where they are sometimes worked or physically brutalized to death. Sexual exploitation also increases exposure to deadly diseases including HIV and AIDS. Trafficking in persons substantially affects interstate and foreign commerce. Trafficking for such purposes as involuntary servitude, peonage, and other forms of forced labor has an impact on the nationwide employment network and labor market. Within the context of slavery, labor services which are obtained or maintained through compelling amounts to a condition of servitude. Sex trafficking victims by race. 40.4% are black, 25.6% are white, 23.9% are Hispanic, 4.3% are Asian, and 5.8% are other. Labor trafficking victims by race. 55.7% are Hispanic, 14.8% are Asian, 9.8% are black, 1.6% are white, and 18% are other.
Culture is the way individuals learn to interpret, give meaning to, and function in the world based on the shared values, beliefs, history, traditions, standards, language, behavioral norms, and communication styles of the communities which they identify. Culture can have an enormous, though often unacknowledged, influence on the success of criminal investigations and social service interventions for survivors of trafficking. Perceptions of law enforcement, beliefs about the fate and destiny, communication differences, stereotypes of the other, differing concepts of power and authority, of time and of gender roles all sway our interpretations of reality and therefore the choices of victims.
There are many agencies involved with human trafficking. The first of the invested is Prevent Human Trafficking. It's a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C., working to build a bridge between Southeast Asia and the United States to prevent human trafficking. PHT empowers individuals, organizations, and governments to tackle the root causes of human trafficking through direct support and technical assistance. PHT uses its expertise and networks to promote best practice and inspire sustainable solutions in the movement to prevent human trafficking. Another agency invested is the Polaris Project. In 2012, the Polaris Project launched the Vision 2020, a bold vision to expand their impact on a global scale. As they began to realize this vision, they began building on their experience operating the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, or NHTRC, hotline in the United States by connecting with diverse organizations and professionals working on human trafficking around the world. Their plan is to map and identify existing anti-trafficking hotlines worldwide, connect with the individual hotlines to foster mutual peer-to-peer learning and share best practices, offer training and technical assistance to support the creation and expansion of hotlines in target countries, and grow the global human trafficking hotline network. The third invested agency involved is the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crimes. Much of their work centers on strengthening national criminal justice systems. Their goal is to see a greater number of convictions achieved globally. This means not only that human trafficking must be a criminal offense in the country where an act of trafficking is detected, but also that the law must be enforced. A few years ago, UNODC offered Armenia, Lebanon, and South Africa assistance in drafting anti-human trafficking legislation. Criminal justice officials from Burkina Faso, Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Ukraine, and South Africa receive specialized training to prevent human trafficking. Raising awareness is essential on subjects such as human trafficking. Many of us may have heard about it, but do not know how inhumane and unjust it is. With that being said, an increase in hotlines would help connect victims of human trafficking report and get away from their abductors. Here's a more in-depth look at human trafficking from CNN.
At any time of the day or night, you can find working prostitutes on Oakland's International Boulevard. And police say they're finding that more and more of them are children. We recently went on a police ride-along and were shocked to find how many girls were on the street and how young they looked. This girl, only 16, was picked up by an undercover cop.
The younger girls are probably being paid $100 for sex and $60 to $80 for work sex.
Authorities say child prostitution has become such a big business in Oakland that drug dealers are increasingly turning to pimping.
Why? Because drugs you can only sell once, children you can sell over and over again.
Local prosecutor Charmine Bach says a pimp with 4 girls who each bring in $500 a day are earning more than $600,000 a year tax-free. We're told some are forced to begin working as early as 12 years old. Most of them are runaways who are lured by the pimps with the promise of a good life. Instead, they're forced to have sex many times a day. They keep none of the money.
It's slavery when at the end of the day, you're out there all day, you make the $500 quota, and you don't get 1 penny of it. And even if they were paid, it is still exploitation in its purest form because of the manipulation that occurs.
Oakland has gained national recognition for its efforts to curb the problem. Police here often conduct undercover operations to get the girls in custody, who are then treated not as criminals, but as victims. In the last 4 years, the Alameda District Attorney's Office, which handles Oakland, says it has taken more than 100 pimps off the streets. It also fought for a law that allows California DAs to charge pimps with human trafficking, a felony. With child prostitution expanding into other Bay Area cities, the Alameda DA's office is setting up a regional coalition with one goal: to help as many of the girls as possible and put the pimps in jail.
The numbers are staggering. It is estimated that across this country there is as many as 300,000 youngsters. These are young kids between the ages of 12 and 18 who are part of this sexual enslavement going on in this country.
Authorities say the rising numbers are in large part due to the internet and the ever-increasing trend of sex-related websites.
Victims of human trafficking and modern slavery work in factories, fields, brothels, street corners, as child soldiers, in private homes or other settings, hidden behind walls and yet also in plain view. Every day, we need to know the signs to be able to identify individuals who are being exploited directly in our communities and be aware of the sources of the products that we purchase.